Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Damage Report under lockdown. We'll be joined today, as we always are, on the biggest news days, Wednesdays, with Jayar Jackson. How's it going, Jayar?
What's up? It's
Uh,
it had to happen at some point.
it did,
Um,
it did.
it had
Um,
to blow up. This seems like the biggest in a while. Just saying.
I'm hoping. I'm going to adjust you a little bit here on the video.
Mhm.
All of you in the chat are probably thinking, why did the stream start so late? So here's the thing. You need to understand that there are tech problems, but let's dive into tech problems. There are tech problems that are someone's fault. And then there are just problems that are nobody's fault and that nobody can fix. And that won't be here tomorrow, probably. So there were tech difficulties that is nobody's fault, and it took us a while to adapt to it.
Yeah.
So we're 14 minutes into the show. So we've been forced to doing one of two things. Either we have to go late or we have to talk 25% faster. So I'm not on a lot of caffeine, so I think we're going to have to go longer than we normally would.
I mean,
Um,
why not both?
why not both? Classic girl meme. Anyway, everybody who's already here, thank you so much for joining us. We do have a billion stories to get to. Um, just getting notice that the thing that broke is working again. A couple minutes too late. But anyway, so we'll have that for tomorrow. Thank you to everybody who's already joining us in the chat here on YouTube, because I don't think we're on Twitch right now. But thank you for being here. Please hit the like button, to reward
That'd be
us for
nice.
professionalism. But anyway, yeah, and you can send us in comments and we'll respond to them with the time we have. And, super chats and all that should be fun. With that, JR, why don't we jump into the news?
Down.
Okay. For over a month now, Donald Trump has been alluding, jokingly, to the idea that he thinks that we're testing too much, that testing should be shut down, that the only reason we seem to have so many coronavirus cases is because we're doing so much testing. He called it a trap yesterday in an interview to do testing. But the thing is that the tests are out there. They're being done, and there are multiple organizations collecting all of this information and then disseminating it so that we have as good of an idea as is currently possible of what the state of the pandemic actually is. That was yesterday. Going forward, who knows? Because the Trump administration has ordered hospitals to bypass the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and send all COVID-19 patient information to a central database in Washington beginning on Wednesday, today. From now on, the department, not the CDC, will collect daily reports about the patients that each hospital is treating, the number of available beds and ventilators, and other information vital to tracking the pandemic, or concealing the tracking of the pandemic. Officials say that this change will streamline data gathering and assist the White House Coronavirus Task Force, which still exists, I guess, in allocating scarce resources like personal protective gear and remdesivir, the first drug shown to be effective against the virus. But the Health and Human Services database that will receive new information is not open to the public, which could affect the work of scores of researchers, modelers, and health officials who rely on CDC data to make projections and crucial decisions.
Yeah.
And to that I add, adoy. That's the idea. Now, obviously, they have to be, this is the New York Times, so they have to be very New York Times-ish about it. But yes, that's the idea.
Oh, this checks out with everything and approach that this administration has done on so many other important things. So to take over basically administrative purposes of a whole complete department agency within the administration, like the CDC, and then centralize it to some secret database where you control how it works to do things like track, determine the number of deaths and sicknesses, and then allocate funds and control the use of the potential vaccine. So if you do all this, and you've always been against the information about numbers of cases and numbers of deaths, you've been against certain remedies, certain vaccines because you're pushing other things like hydroxychloroquine because it helps you and your buddies, whoever else is behind it. When you say testing is a problem and we need to suppress testing, everything you've already told us that you look to control now with this, you don't want people to have that information. So it's pretty obvious what you want to do with this information. And again, it's happened before with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau that Elizabeth Warren started back in the Obama days. And then when they came into power, they put someone in place to stifle it. The environmental, the EPA, they put someone in place to stifle it. Every agency that they put someone in charge of, that they take over, they're looking to stifle that particular agency's mission. This is just another version of that.
Exactly, and potentially a very powerful one. Now that's JR's opinion and my opinion. What do we know? We're not doctors, so let's turn to the doctors, like Dr. Nicole Lurie, who served in HHS under President Obama, who says, it appears to cut off the ability of agencies like CDC to do its basic job. Now, I could show you so many instances of doctors and people who formerly served in the CDC and HHS who are saying the same thing. It's all out there. If you want to see it, go see it. But they're all saying the basic thing. There is obviously the potential for information to be concealed through this. And we would have no way of knowing it because it's not open to the public. What benefit is there? I don't know. They're saying it will allow the government to respond to changes in the pandemic. In what possible way is the information going directly to HHS better than it going to CDC, which is literally designed to anticipate and respond to pandemics? I don't know. Maybe there is something. Again, I'm not a doctor, but it's not being articulated. And when you have someone like Donald Trump, who has been complaining about the success of testing so far for months now, why would anyone extend any goodwill towards this administration? We've been given literally no reason to. And bear in mind,
explanations aren't given.
No, nothing. And this is the most recent thing, but the order that we just talked about, that came just hours after 4 former directors of the CDC wrote in a Washington Post op-ed that, quote, no president ever politicized the CDC science the way Trump has. To that I say, well, be careful what you wish for, because you guys complained when he politicized CDC science. Now he's just cutting the CDC entirely out of it. So there, you can go have your science. But they can't have any science, the CDC. Not from hospitals, anyway.
Yeah.
Now, it leaves certain questions like, so I and many people follow a Twitter account called COVID Tracking Project. They appear to get their information from individual states. It is possible that some of that might still exist, assuming this order doesn't stop the state health departments from communicating with groups like COVID Tracking Project. But in terms of official government tracking, it will still exist, and it is possible that our fears won't be borne out. But it could be that things turn dark after this in terms of access to information. And if it's the case, we would have no idea. We will just have to accept whatever numbers they put out. We'll have no way to directly question them because they have access to all of the information and we don't.
It doesn't sound like much of a free country, or at least free. What did Trump say? He's going to have the most transparent presidency, most transparent administration in history, because now you're ready to close off all information. Let's not forget his favorite governor, or one of his favorite governors, Ron DeSantis down in Florida, did the same thing. He was hiding numbers that were happening at nursing homes. He was hiding the general numbers in the state overall, as they complained, and then said that numbers that were coming out that were attributed to COVID cases and COVID deaths were being manipulated, changed, blamed. Like they said people would die of something else, so they would just say it's COVID, and they would start exaggerating and say someone hit their head, and then they said COVID. So this is their approach. They're looking to downplay and suppress all of this. It's not hidden. It's not like we're speculating. They said so.
Exactly. Yeah, and now it will be hidden. No, when we said we wanted transparency in government, we weren't just talking about Steve Miller's skin. We mean in terms of access to information. We want you to be honest and upfront and not corrupt. So if they think that the states or the CDC were classifying some deaths as being coronavirus when they don't think it should be, because, the person had coronavirus and their lungs failed, but they also had diabetes. Yep. Well, the CDC's been counting that as a coronavirus death. Will HHS under Trump? I don't know. I honestly don't. I have no idea. Yeah. And we won't even necessarily know if that's what they're doing or not. Anyway, the entire thing is so frustrating. And again, in terms of when you see a move like this and you have to make the evaluation, should I extend goodwill? Should I wait and see? Remember that in terms of other government efforts right now having to do with the coronavirus, what is the main thing that the White House is doing? It is smearing Anthony Fauci, including with Peter Navarro's op-ed that just came out today, attacking him. That a senior White House official tells reporter Catherine Falders, Navarro went rogue and put out his personal opinion without any approvals. That happened. That's what it was. It was just him. Oh, And also Caitlin McEnany, who's been attacking him, and the multiple people in the White House who leaked that bit of Oppo research against him, and Trump, who's been implying that you can't trust all of these doctors, and all of them rogue. It's a rogues gallery. That's the thing.
Somehow Peter Navarro went rogue after, and I know you just listed this, after Trump said Dr. Fauci gets everything wrong, after they leaked the information that everything gets wrong, after Stephen Moore, there's the only one I think that you didn't mention, Stephen Moore, his group, says they're planning to put together an even larger thing to say that everything Dr. Fauci's ever said in his career has been wrong, and we're going to send that to the White House and let them have that for whatever purposes of campaigning or for destroying this guy's a standing in his character that they can, so they can continue to lie to the American people. And now Peter Navarro does the same thing, uses the exact same talking points and wording and phrasing, and that's rogue? First of all, if anybody goes rogue in the White House, we know what they do to them. They fire them, they persecute them, they go to the press and talk about how horrible a person they are, they're a disgruntled employee. So going rogue doesn't look like this. Going rogue is when you blow the whistle on some illegal activity, then you become public enemy number one. Going rogue does not look like the same thing the White House officially says.
Exactly. And in a White House with a president who values, like if you had a pie chart of what he values, 100% of it would be loyalty. You can't go rogue doing what he wants you to do. That's not how rogue works. I watched a lot of X-Men. I know how rogue works. Anyway.
Well, and also, I'm sorry, and last thing on this too, is you think Trump wanted to tweet about how horrible of a person Peter Navarro is for going rogue and behind his back and not going through the normal protocol and processes for sending out an op-ed that's going to destroy someone, or that you're looking to destroy someone? Honestly, that's the last part. It's not even going to work. Yeah. Everyone already knows. We can see obvious truth and honesty versus, manipulation.
Yeah. Okay, let's see what the audience is saying, especially since they were waiting for us for some time. By the way, I saw a comment asking what your shirt says, JR.
Oh, did you see it?
What is it?
Decolonize.
I like it, but it's made out to be Dodgers. Is that it?
Yep.
I know sports references.
Look at this guy.
Nobody asked, but just in case, mine is indeed a Fight Milk t-shirt. If you watch Always Sunny in Philadelphia, you know what I'm talking about. Fight with all the power of a crow by drinking Fight Milk.
See, I gotta watch it. It seems like a good show. I mean,
it's pretty good.
Yeah. Is it? I thought it was from Guardians of the Galaxy at first, but
similar. I like to imagine they both exist in the same cinematic universe. Anyway, okay, so let's see what's going on with Cujo sending us in a super chat saying, show doesn't start until 1,000 likes. Even if the stream isn't active, for you to hit the like button, virtually like it. I want you to draw a like button, and I want you to pound it. Okay? Luis Antonio Alejandro says, looks like we have to cancel Donald Trump for canceling John Iadarola. Cancels all around. Stephanie, thank you for your heart. Raleigh Jones says, yesterday I mocked Washington for Red Tails because it fit their song versus honoring Tuskegee Airmen. Tuskegee Airmen are so worth of any honor. I hate that everyone says, oh, and they don't have to change the song much. Oh, I get what you're saying, Raleigh. Like, the name is fine because it honors this group that deserves to be honored. The consideration about songs shouldn't enter into it. You can make a new song. Anyway, I asked Jordan Ewell yesterday if he had a preferred replacement name for Washington. Do you have one, JR? I know you watch a lot of the sports.
Well, I remember, this is the thing. We've been talking about this since early TYT days. And the one that we kind of settled on was Ben Mankiewicz's reference, because he said he grew up a Washington football fan, and he likes the team, he likes the colors, all that stuff. He's like, we can keep all that. There's people in the stands that wear the pig heads and all that stuff. Maybe, I don't know if you know this part, right? Like, it's the rabid fans that put on the pig noses and stuff. It's a traditional thing that makes no sense. But he suggested the pig skins, right? Because it's an alternate name for a football. You can keep your pig heads in the crowd, so you can still act you can still act a fool and do that. And then keep all the same stuff. It's called the pigskins. It works out. And I was like, that's not a bad idea, Ben Mankiewicz. I'm still stuck on that one. That was from like 2008 or 6 even.
Yeah, that's not bad. And it's unique to have a name that actually references in any way the sport that you're playing. They don't generally do that.
Yeah.
Like, there's no like MLB team, the Fastballs, or anything like that, Like, it's generally, you want to pretend like, oh, I'm not even interested in the sport. I just like Eagles and stuff. Like, I think that's weird. Aren't you like big fans of this sport? It should be like, I don't know, the The sax isn't particularly good, but you get where I'm going.
Yeah, the whole point was supposed to be like you're an intimidating mascot. And many teams have gone away from that, but that was the original thought, is like intimidation. Exactly. So that's the other part about this. This intimidating Native American person, let's throw his face on the side of a helmet, and we're going to take on that form because we're so bad.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, let's read a few more before we jump into more news. Tori Wisdom says, here's just a pick-me-up. Tech issues are so frustrating. Thanks for powering through, guys. Thanks. In terms of powering through the tech issues, we were mostly just waiting and seeing. It was people that you don't see that were actually doing the powering through trying to fix it. And I have a feeling that they're probably much more frustrated than either JR or I was.
Yes.
Thank you, Edwin, for working on that. And Craig. Kai Allen and Johnny. Kai Allen says, you guys are the best. Thanks for all that you do. Also, your Tucker Carlson rant yesterday was epic. Fine, John, you win. I'm addicted to super chats. # take my money. Kai Allen, as always, thank you. We appreciate it. Although I'm sure Kai knows, but in case you are new to the stream, the money does not go to me. It goes to the channel and the network. And that's why we appreciate you keeping us afloat during this difficult time. Okay, David Baker says, thank you both for always being the realist. Love TDR. Also, if it makes you feel any better, everybody has been having tech issues today. Yeah, we had a great interview yesterday that's live on the channel right now. It's with a Miami-based author and poet who wrote this whole book about Miami and how climate change is threatening to destroy it, and about what will be lost if we lose the culture of Miami. We couldn't get the video to work. So it's just an audio interview, even though we're a video show, and he was really trying, but there's nothing we could do. Just freaking Ortega says, # TDR Live. I never comment here. Happy to see you both. Keep on rocking. Dynamic duo can't be beat for Hump Day News. Love y'all and our TYT fam. Jess, thank you.
Is this like the... Wait, I'm sorry, who was that from? That
was Jess freaking Ortega.
Okay, so we've seen Jess Ortega. She's very active. Thank you, by the way. We always know and love you. That's like the equivalent of... Remember back in the radio days, it's like, long-time listener, first-time caller.
It's the same exact thing. Don't often comment. No. Yeah, that's true. And Obi-Wan Kenobi, who we also are very familiar with, says, sending some love from Twitch, which is barren of TDR content right now. Claudette, thank you for your #1 fan. Really appreciate it. Luminia says, love you, John and JR. Thank you so much. There will be... You know what? Let me respond to one more. We're going to respond to more, but Real Life Jolie says, a suggestion. Could you maybe stack all the interviews you do in a single playlist just so we don't have to dig for them through the channel? That is a very good idea. So yesterday, I actually removed some of the playlists from the front page of the channel on YouTube that are from way back when this wasn't TDR. This was my personal YouTube channel that I used to do videos on years ago, and obviously those playlists hadn't been updated in like 7 years. I want to create playlists for the interviews would be great, and also things like garbage people and other things that we come up with. The issue is it would be very easy to just start adding new clips to those playlists, but I'm a completionist, and it would bother me so much if the past ones weren't on it. But I don't want to dig through and find all of those. So, rock and hard place sort of situation going on.
All the previous videos, there would be like a recap?
Yeah, like if we had a Garbage People playlist, I would want the older ones to be on there, but the only way that they can be added is to go through and find them. And that's a problem.
I'll talk to you about this process, John, because also we put together a compiled list of all the videos from the main show that I'm in charge of slapping together later. There's a way to do this, bro. We're going to figure this out.
Okay, well, let's figure it out. You know what's not being figured out? The pandemic by the government. And so that's my very smooth transition back to that. Donald Trump was interviewed by CBS News yesterday and touched on many topics, including the pandemic. I understand that if you watch the show a lot, you're not going to be shocked by what's going to appear in this clip, but I keep on holding out hope that in the same way that he finally wore a mask, he will finally start to take literally any part of this pandemic seriously, and this clip implies to me that that day is not today.
Let's talk about testing. Back in March, you said every American who wants a test will get a test. But one of the major labs in the U.S. announced today that the average wait time for a result is about 7 days. So is the national testing strategy working?
Working. We have 45 million tests as of, I think, today, approximately 45 million tests. No other country tests like us. In fact, I could say it's working too much. It's working too well. We're doing testing, and we're finding thousands and thousands of cases.
What can you do to speed up the testing result time?
go with this.
There are different kinds of tests. There are tests that are very good, very strong, where you send it to a laboratory. The best thing we can do is we're doing more and more of them is on-site testing. So you can wait a half an hour. You can wait, in some cases, like in Abbott, you could wait 5 minutes for the test
Will you
result.
push for more on-site testing?
I like it the best. I mean, I like it the best. It might not be as accurate, by the way, but I like it the best.
Probably related to the lack of accuracy. And so there was really two parts of that. So there's the asked about it and immediately just goes into we do the most testing. And then there's stuff about what he's actually going to do. So let's start with the first. The fact that he just, like, he has this reputation for being a straight shooter who actually talks in a way that politicians don't. But anytime he's asked about any sort of problem, he just says, we do lots of tests. No, but that's not what I asked you about. Like, if a teacher asked me, why did you fail your last test? And I said, I've taken many tests. That's not, no, I'm asking you about an issue going forward, not about whether they exist. So that's frustrating.
Like, there was the rare moments in school, now that you brought up testing, where if you do something like not up to par, but you're normally a good student, teachers do this. And they'll come to you and be like, here, you have a chance to fix this. It's not a test, but it's like maybe homework or something. Like, you know better than this. Here, figure out what you do is fix it. And you're giving you a second chance to get it right. This is kind of what that is. They're giving him consistently second chances to finally go, okay, we did that wrong, but this is our approach now. And you can clean up your mistakes. It's an absolute refusal to even accept the gift of being given a chance to clean it up, because you have no interest in cleaning it up. You don't even know. I'm under the impression he doesn't even know how the testing works. He has no idea what sites may have certain kinds of testing, why one would be more useful than another. None of that, because you have to have a curiosity to do that. I don't know anything about this, but if I'm in a position where I'm the face of the problem, I'm going to start looking into how things can be better or how things are done, so I can at least be like, can we fix this part?
Yeah.
Because I'm over here looking like a fool.
Exactly. Well, the issue is that you are capable of knowing if you look like a fool, and you wouldn't want that. He probably wouldn't want that, but he can't tell because he's such a fool. Yeah. And so when he's asked a question about the lingering difficulties in getting tests and just says, we've got tests, that is not an answer to the problem, because you can look out there. And I just scrubbed a few headlines from around the country. Long lines, delayed results, and lacking access. Here's the latest on coronavirus testing in Massachusetts. That was from a day or two ago. You have growing concern about access to coronavirus testing in the Mid-South. Bear in mind, the South is the current hardest hit part of the country. So what I don't get about those headlines is, but we've done lots of tests. So why are you complaining in Massachusetts and in the South? Why are you so scared? We've done lots of tests. See, it doesn't actually work as a response. It doesn't actually solve any problems. And then she keeps trying to save him. He's going to call her in a later clip rude, basically. But she's just trying to just give him something easy to answer. So she says, can we do something to make the tests faster? And he says, well, there are two kinds of tests. There are tests you send and then tests that are faster. Okay, we want more of the faster ones. Like, I'm not interested in whether you know that there are faster ones. What are you actually doing? And then she tries again saying, would you like more of the faster ones? And he says, yeah, I like them more. They're less accurate, but I like them more. But you're not like a random guy I stopped on the street. I'm not Jimmy Kimmel. You're not on your way to Baskin Robbins. What are you doing about it? Are you pushing for more funding? Are you trying to ramp up manufacturing capacity so that we have more of the quickest sorts of tests? Because you understand that while you get tested constantly and you haven't come within 100 yards of someone who could have possibly been infected with coronavirus in like literally months, for other people, if I think that I have it and it takes 7 days to get results, I may not find out until my body's already beaten back the infection or I'm laid out in a hospital. That's the actual reality of testing right now. And simply saying, well, there are quick tests isn't any help if I can't have one of those.
It does, because solutions are not the end game here. It's deflecting is the end game. Like, okay, I'm in this interview for the 20 minutes I'm here. I got to make sure no one thinks it is my fault. That's the objective. So, of course, you didn't look into any solutions. Of course, you didn't look into ways to actually provide a full answer. The answer is just, we've got them. Shut up, stop talking to me. What are you guys bothering me for? These things exist. What's wrong with you? Mick Mulvaney came out and wrote something a couple days ago about how his son and daughter had problem with testing. And suddenly Mick Mulvaney is outraged by this horrific testing system. Can you believe my son couldn't get a test for 5 days? Can you believe my daughter, they told her she wasn't qualified to even take a test? How dare they? This is how they work. Now, suddenly Mick Mulvaney, who's been put off on some island of ambassadorship because he was too busy trying to be the chief of staff until the president stopped screaming at everyone. I'm not sure if he even said that, but he's been set aside. Now he's upset about testing and bothering his children.
Yeah.
Your kids aren't the only ones, bro.
Yeah, 100%. So look, it's fairly clear at this point, we're not going to get much new just yet from him on coronavirus. So let's turn to another topic. Over the past couple of months since George Floyd's death and the civil rights protests that have continued, they're still going on, everyone, so please don't ignore that. Related to both that death and a number of other deaths of a similar sort, he has just completely fumbled it / weaponized it as a campaign strategy. His commentary about it has been absolutely abhorrent. So in yesterday's interview, he was given a chance to possibly come out with a new version of his response to police brutality.
Let's talk about George Floyd. You said George Floyd's death was a terrible thing.
Terrible.
Why are African Americans still dying at the hands of law enforcement in this country?
And so are white people. So are white people. What a terrible question to ask. So are white people. More white people, by the way. More white people.
More. Okay. So people keep saying that Donald Trump. There's this discussion about intelligence versus dummy versus IQ and all that stuff, whether he's smart or not. I don't really think he can really land on one or the other. It's just he doesn't care. So anything, he can absorb things that he cares to absorb, and then he denies and rejects things that require too much thinking. So he's not appealing to his base in some kind of smart strategy and thinks, oh my God, these white supremacists and these old racists are my base, and I've got to continue down this line and make sure they remember everything I say so I can get reelected. He is his base. Mm-hmm. There's no plan. He doesn't think things through. That's the one thing. Whether you're smart or dumb, you don't think things through. So his thought is, I watch Fox News every morning. I ingest everything they say that I like, everything that I don't like. I call them traitors for it. And then I go and talk about it all day and don't listen to anything that's actually presented to me because I'm the president of the United States where I get the best information. I'll reject that because Fox and Friends is actually the things I like to listen to. In the evening, I'll watch my opinion guys, Tucker and Handy and all them. He is his base. Mm-hmm. He acts just like one of his voters. One of his voters would say something like this, not because he said it. He's this new guy who first said it. He listens to other people say it, and he's regurgitating it. He is a 76-year-old guy, racist, who acts like a 76-year-old racist. That's all he is. This isn't a plan. This is him.
Yeah, his answer is exactly as stupid and almost identical to any random idiot conspiracy theorist racist response to a tweet. That's all it is. And he gets his information from the exact same place. So
he retweets QAnon. He retweets people, like radical people with the old guy in Florida who threw out their white power. That's what his base does. They see the beginning of a video, retweet it out, except they don't have to then later go, oh, I didn't see that part. That's the only difference. He has to do that once people get upset.
Yeah.
He just acts just like they do.
Is there anything more Trump and more MAGA than the president of the United States just saying, more white people, more white people, more white people, more white people? That's what he's been pushing for, honestly. And so he's just driving it home there. And by the way, I understand that obviously on its face, the All Lives Matter movement was not really trying to just be fair and equal. But if you're going to try to sell yourself as actually caring about all lives, first of all, wear a mask. Second of all, you can't just say, no, don't talk about these deaths. Talk about only these deaths instead. He didn't say also white people. Like, it's a severe problem that so many black individuals are being killed by cops. But let's also make sure that we acknowledge that other sorts of people die. He said more white people, more white people, more white people. And of course, also, He's just wrong about the severity of the problem. One study published in 2018 found that black men are roughly 3.5 times more likely to be killed by law enforcement than white men. Another study released in 2019 found that 1 in 1,000 black men in the U.S. can expect to die at the hands of police over the course of their lifetime. A study by Harvard researchers published in late June showed that black people were 3 times more likely to be killed by law enforcement officers than white Americans. So, are more white people killed by cops? Yes, partially because there's way, 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 way more white people. But in terms of your odds, the chance that any individual will be killed, it is a far, far, far worse problem for black Americans than white Americans. That is, if you got a problem with it, take it up with the numbers. And preferably take it up with the cops, since they're the ones doing the killing.
Yeah, again, this is an example of one of those things where you have to think about it for further than one step, which I think he is capable of doing. But doing so is not in his interest, so he just turns it off. Once you start hearing someone give you the argument of reality, as soon as you hear it not matching up with your agenda, brain shuts down. Put up the wall. Like you never heard it. Because this isn't new. Like, as soon as you hear someone say, but more white people get killed, the automatic thing that I think is, well, obviously there's more white people. We're talking about how often this minority of people get detained, pulled over, and murdered. Straight up. So that you can't figure out, you don't know what that means, that the ratio of people or the percentage of people in this smaller group are in this murderous position more than you are. You get that. That's not a complicated scenario to figure out.
Yeah. And by the way, I think it was Stephen Colbert last night that pointed out it's a weird thing that there's nationwide protests going on where black Americans are saying the cops are killing too many of us. And your response is, come on, no, cops kill everyone. They kill more of us. Well, but then shouldn't you have a problem with that? Like, let's say they are killing way more white people. Should we maybe talk about that a little bit? Maybe the cops should be doing less killing. But
let's flip that stupid argument on its head where they keep going every time they bring up Chicago, because Chicago is the go-to. Mm-hmm. If you care so much about black people dying, how about you go check out Chicago where black-on-black crime is happening? Okay, so you're concerned about police killing white people. You got very animated about it. What are you doing about all these murderous cops killing white people? Because white people are being murdered at a very high level in this country by police officers. Why do you support these murderous cops from your precious white people, President? No, we're not worried about that because it's a disingenuous argument, just like the Chicago killing black on black crime argument is. Because if you cared about that, you know what the next question should be? If you care about black on black crime in urban areas, ask them. So why is this happening? Mm-hmm. Why are black folks killing each other? Why was this last weekend, whenever weekend they want to cite, highest in Chicago history? Why did so many people die? And what are you doing about it? You care. What are you doing about it? Because there's countless organizations that are trying to do something about it, that have done things about it, actually.
Yeah, a problem isn't actually a problem you care about if the only time you care about it is when being deployed in whataboutism. Like, if that's the only time you bring it up, it's not like the people who are like, yeah, but what about Chicago, have like started an organization to keep the streets safe in Chicago, and they're working on like research papers. Like, they don't do that. They don't care except when, well, why don't we worry about that?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, let's turn to just 2 more quick videos from his interview. How core to Trump's re-election strategy is racism? Well, he can find a way to make pretty much everything tie back to the singular appeal he has to his base, which is that he feels the same way about non-white individuals that they do. First, here he is on coronavirus. The only time he really gets fired up, really gets mad, is when pinning the blame on another country.
The ink wasn't even dry, and they hit us with the plague, okay? So right now, I'm not interested in talking to China about another deal. I'm interested in doing other things with China.
And how will you hold the Chinese government accountable for COVID-19?
You'll see. You'll see. It's not for you. It's for me.
But you will hold them accountable.
You'll see.
Yeah. So that, again, that's that weird, like, I'm the president. I'm going to make them pay, but only I get to know. You don't get to know. But we'll see. We'll see. Jayar, gut reaction. Of all of the times he'll say, we'll see, or we'll be rolling it out, or it's coming out in a few weeks, what percentage of the time is it ever referenced again by Donald Trump?
I'd say 1% to 2%. Only if someone brings it back up And
Yeah, that's true.
something that's an auxiliary, and he has to say it again. Oh, we were doing it because he'll do it a few times. He'll say what he's going to do to someone else whenever
That's
someone
true.
questions, or if he needs to deflect from something else he doesn't want to talk about. By the way, I get so many every time he answers questions in that manner. I get a sense that he has no idea. Whenever he says, "That's for me, not you. I'm the president. You're just a reporter," it means I don't know. It must have been in some briefing that I didn't read or that I wasn't listening to. Guarantee you,
Totally.
he has no idea what the plan is to confront China. No clue.
Well, he said he had a plan. I don't remember during the election. He said he had a plan for like Iran or something like that. But I'm not going to tell you until I become president. I'm not going to tell you. It's like that big scene from The Office. It's like, no, I don't think you have one. I think you're making up your plan. And by the way, to go to that point, his talk about China, about him not actually knowing what he's talking about, at his press conference yesterday, he answered like 2 questions after ranting about Biden. He said that one of the reasons Biden is so bad is that Biden gave China most favorable nation status for trade with America, but Biden didn't give America most favorable nation status to trade with America.
Yeah.
What does it mean? What does anything mean? Honestly, is gravity real? I could just hit the ceiling right now. You don't know. It doesn't make any sense. But again, to the racism point, he was asked a relatively easy question about the Confederate flag. It has become so simple to stake out a reasonable position on the Confederate flag that even NASCAR has bumbled into one. Trump himself, back during the last election, said that the Confederate flag belongs in a museum, quoting the great Indiana Jones. But here, he's going to backtrack on that because, again, we're in a general election and racism is all he's got.
President Trump, back in 2015, you said the Confederate battle flag belongs in a museum. Do you still believe that?
All I say is freedom of speech. It's very simple. My attitude is freedom of speech. Very strong views on the Confederate flag. With me, it's freedom of speech. Very simple. Like it, don't like it, it's freedom of speech.
Would you be comfortable with your supporters displaying the Confederate battle flag at political events?
You know, it depends on what your definition is, but I am comfortable with freedom of speech. It's very simple.
But you understand why the flag is a painful symbol for many people because it's a reminder of slavery.
Well, people love it, and I know people that like the Confederate flag, and they're not thinking about slavery. I look at NASCAR. You go to NASCAR, you had those flags all over the place. They stopped it. I just think it's freedom of speech, whether it's Confederate flags or Black Lives Matter or anything else you want to talk about. It's freedom of speech.
Yeah, and so again, I mentioned earlier that I don't understand how Trump is considered this guy who gives it to you direct, or that he's like alpha and strong. He's saying, like, this happened with the Chuck Woolery stuff, which we're not showing, but he referenced the fact that he retweeted Chuck Woolery. I'm just putting it out there. People believe. So, no. What do you believe? Why don't you actually tell me your opinion on this thing that you clearly don't want to be direct on because you're terrified of the response? You keep saying, no, people say this. They think this about the Confederate. You're the president. What do you think? Because you told us back in 2015 that it should be in a museum, presumably not on trucks or hanging from, people's houses or at NASCAR or stuff like that. Something has changed. What is it? Why won't you tell us? But he won't. It's all freedom of speech. Well, what about a swastika? It's freedom of speech, right?
Freedom of speech.
I don't have to have an opinion. It's just freedom of speech. Everybody, I don't have to say anything. I don't have to have an opinion. Freedom of speech. Everybody, just have anything you want. Just have anything you want.
Yeah,
that's
maybe
presumably what he believes.
Yeah, maybe the person is a Hitler buff and they're history buff and they want to learn about what happened. And they just like, oh, you know what? This whole flag is fascinating to me. Let me start carrying it around because I'm learning about it. It's freedom of speech. By the way, his whole freedom of speech line, he pushed Black Lives Matter, and then the Confederate flag is equating the two to being people like it because it's freedom of speech. Was it freedom of speech when you walked down in D.C. and assaulted protesters, Black Lives Matter protesters, because of their freedom of speech? Nah, not sure if freedom of speech stood up for you there on that particular moment. But if there was a bunch of people crowding the streets with Confederate flags, I guarantee you wouldn't go through there with National Guard or military or whoever else you put in front of you, cowardly self, to walk down the middle of the street and assault them. There's a difference. Your freedom of speech is based off of the races that you'd like to continue to promote. Yeah. So, he also didn't answer that question. He said, would you want these flags at your rallies? I'm just saying freedom of speech. Should ask him again. That's not my question. Would you want these at your rallies, bro?
Yeah, and it's someone in the comments said, answer a direct question once. Alpha, come on, alpha man. Big alpha guy. Answer one actual question. Say one thing about what you really believe, but he won't. Someone in the comments said, it's such an easy bar to clear, too. Everybody knows what the Confederate flag is. And it's such a pointless one, too. The clinging to the Confederate flag, because of all that it says about white superiority and slavery and all that stuff, that they love it so much. Do they not know how easy it is to be racist in America while flying the American flag? You don't need the Confederate flag. There's racists all over with American flag shorts. You can do that. It'll be a little bit more hidden. Just a little bit more. Okay. Let's read a couple of super chats and let's turn into some talk about climate change. Someone said they think my caffeine's kicking in. I had one caffeinated beverage this morning. It was a couple of hours ago. This is decaf. And I am drinking some, because I'm a lefty, LaCroix. So anyway,
lovely.
Love it. Okay. We got a comment on YouTube that says, for Microsoft Word technical support, says, lol, I'm intrigued by how you play the board game Camel Up. So there's a board game behind me, Camel Up, which is an awesome game. I think like 8 people can play it. It's a very family-friendly racing game where you have these little camels that can jump on top of each other, and they're racing, and you're betting on the camels. That's all it is. Very fun game. Just look into it. Not very expensive. This is the second edition. Came out like a year or two ago. It's very good. Carson Rodkey, thank you for your super chat. I'm not going to read it out loud, though, just because we're going to be talking about that later on, but thank you for that. Luminia says, love you, John and Jayar. Thank you so much. Sage and Candle says, DS9 Bashir has twice weekly Zooms with fans just to cheer people up. Just conversation, no fees, just fun. That's awesome. Seemed like a nice guy on the show. Not surprised that he is actually a nice guy.
Who does that?
He was an actor from one of the Star Trek shows, DS9.
Oh. I thought maybe this person was trying to suggest the subtle suggestion that you should start doing this, John. Just have like a calm, like casual conversation with folks every week.
Yeah.
No fees.
We could all get into a room, like a common room. We could do that. We do that, and it's free. At twitch.tv/TYT. You can watch Common Room every Friday night.
2 short days.
Exactly. Rob Shively says Stephen Miller is an eldritch horror. He wishes. A Goddess 18 gave us a "You Are Amazing" sticker. Thank you so much. Let's see. JHWH Godol says, my German friend worked as a teacher in the U.S., said pupils there learn that the U.S. is the only democracy, best country in the world. No wonder many of your people don't question the status quo. Yeah, I saw an ad for a show on Fox Nation this morning that said, it was like its tagline was celebrating America. And I know that, like, they'll attack a lack of patriotism when I say, do we have to? Like, it's our country. We have the 4th of July. It just happened. Why are we still celebrating always? Like, imagine just always celebrating something constantly. Isn't that weird? Doesn't that sort of scream of desperation, of deception, that something clearly else is going on, that you have to continually celebrate something that you already acknowledge is the best in the world? So then why does it need to constantly be recognized? I don't know. It seems weird.
It's a constant call for loyalty and making sure that you're on this particular side. So if you have any kind of way you want to progress the country, make it better, we can frame that as not being proud of America and not celebrating America.
Yeah.
And then so people who go along and don't say anything and just the minions, they're celebrating America. It's a positive versus a negative thing. Same thing they say whenever a rhino and a dino happens with political parties. Like, oh, you're a rhino because you didn't continue to go lock and step with the party.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so there are a few super chats I can see that don't directly reference JR. I'll save those for the end because we only have them for so long. But Maya Given says, love Wednesdays. Hi, JR and Sprocket. Can someone tell Steve Mnuchin that the 10 weeks is up and people need help, please? We've been trying, Maya. Anna Channon said, what did you mean a few weeks ago when you said on Wednesdays you become Anna and JR becomes you? First time donating. I forget exactly, but it was something about JR joins me on this show. I join Anna on her show. It was something about presenting. I don't remember. But basically, the host gets shuffled up differently depending on the day. Mm-hmm. That was the basic idea. Kayla says, love the show. Thank you for all you do. TDR and TYT are the only place I trust for news. Well, thank you. Oh. I think that there are other places that are trustworthy for news, but I do appreciate that. Alexander says, is there any contact tracing in the U.S.? Regards from Germany. Yeah, that's a great question. In terms of sort of top-down efforts to sort of plan and structure contact tracing, I don't believe that there is. I think that was something that we talked about as a country for a while, and just sort of gave up on. I think that some cities and states are trying to do it, but I don't believe that we're doing it in the coordinated fashion that other countries are.
Right. And it's definitely not going to happen once the information is getting sent straight to the White House.
No. 00111111 says, I should add that I'm one of the people making more on unemployment than I did working, and here I am contributing to my TYT brethren. Mnuchin and Kudlow can consume a satchel of Richards. That's funny. Oh my God. So Mnuchin was so worried about what people would do if they temporarily made more money, and he should have been, because it goes here.
Oh my God. By the way, I really
code.
It was a binary code.
Mm-hmm.
You deserve whatever money you're getting. That's more than what you were making. I don't care how much you were making. You deserve more of it.
Yeah.
You're an American.
Yeah. If you,
We're paying the price.
It's like, if you're making more money now on unemployment than you were, you're not stealing from the government. The company was stealing from you. That's what it is. Rosalind Studio says, John, have you tried brewing your coffee with Red Bull instead of water? It lets you see sounds. No, I'm trying to cut my caffeine significantly. I'm on like day 5 of 1 caffeinated beverage, and this weekend I might go down to no caffeine. Cutting back on the rum is going to take a little bit of extra time, but in terms of the caffeine, I am doing my best, especially with common rum. Anyway,
I'm so afraid to visit my doctor. She's gonna be like, "What the F have you been doing?
Why is your body half liver?" No, it's a serious problem. We're joking about it, but it's probably a serious problem. Anyway, we didn't even get to that. There was more racism. But anyway, we do have to move on. Okay, really fast. Miss Angie Nicole says, my birthday is Friday, and a happy birthday from Jayar would make it an amazing birthday.
Wow, who is this?
Miss Angie Nicole.
Angie Nicole. Happy birthday. It was this Friday? It's going to be in 2 days, or it was last Friday? I missed that part.
Is Friday.
It is Friday. Well, happy early birthday. Maybe we'll shoot out another one on Friday, even though I'm not actually on Friday. Just know the spirit.
There you go. Thank you, Miss Angie.
Happy birthday.
Okay, with that, we're gonna be so over, but I want to make sure that we don't skimp on responding to the audience. So let's talk about this. With Joe Biden as the nominee, people to the left of Biden, i.e. most of the country, have it as our task that we have to try to push him in the right direction because it's likely the best bet that we have. And so one of the areas where it's most important that we do that, but that also hypothetically there might be the most chance that it could happen, is with climate change. Now, he has released new details on his climate plan. Now, don't get ahead of yourself. He's not coming out the gates banning fracking or anything like that. And even the good details that we're going to reveal here are a plan that is written down somewhere. And that is step 1 of 100 steps to actually stopping climate change from devastating our planet. That said, here is what's in the plan. Biden's climate initiative calls to chart the United States on an irreversible path to net zero carbon emissions by 2050. The plan would aim to achieve a carbon pollution-free power sector by 2035. It would also upgrade 4 million buildings and weatherize 2 million homes over 4 years to increase energy efficiency. And the proposal, according to Biden's campaign, would seek to shift major cities towards public transportation and create millions of good union jobs, rebuilding America's crumbling infrastructure. You also have things like a $2 trillion price tag, so bear that in mind. That is obviously far less than, say, Bernie Sanders was planning on spending on forestalling climate change, but it is significantly more than people like Joe Biden have in the past supported. In the past, it was something like $100 billion, $150 billion. This is obviously many, many times as much. The proposal also includes environmental justice components, such as creating an environmental and climate justice division within the Department of Justice. And one important component of it is that he is pitching this plan as being focused on jobs, tying it to economic growth, which is sort of one of the big parts of the whole conversation about climate change that we've had over the past few years, that this is not a strictly environmental thing. It is tied in with racial justice, environmental justice, economic justice, so many different things. And so, at least in his plan, he seems to get that. And also, importantly, he is pitching it as irreversible because he says the way they're going to pass this is going to make it extremely difficult to pull the funding in just a few years. So if he puts this into effect, then you get Tucker Carlson in 4 more years. Hypothetically, Tucker will have a hard time reversing the efforts that this plan aims to put into place.
So it seems like a shift. I mean, it's definitely a shift. Not even seems like it. From his previous thoughts about climate plans and ways to prevent things and actually build infrastructures that would match up with this. So the question becomes as to why. Is it because of pressure? Is it because he thinks politically it'll work more for him? Did he wake up one morning and then read something where he said, "Man, this is a serious problem. Let's put something together"? No. Someone did come to him with something, and whatever the reason is, the only reason I ask the reason is because there's people that speculate that he's not really going to implement it. This is just lip service. He's just trying to get elected. Don't trust him. Remember what he said before. Okay, I get that speculation, but what's the reason to not try to continue to push him that way? Maybe it was due to some pressure. Maybe it wasn't. I don't care. He's proposing something that's on paper that would allow people that want even more than what he's proposing to have a starting point. Now, I understand we want it all, but the hard part is going, okay, this guy's just trying to game us just to get elected. I know who else isn't gaming us just to get elected and definitely won't even consider going any of these directions. In fact, he will throw a middle finger at you and say, move along. What is this climate thing you're talking about? I saw a snowball last week. That's the difference in climate plans that you're going to get. So I understand your issue, and people maybe want to see a cabinet put in place that's going to carry this out, which I'm okay with that too. But how often do you see a full cabinet put in place for something like this before the guy even gets elected? So maybe I'm being a fool, but I don't think it's that big of a risk to go for something like this so we can pursue more rather than going for something that someone has explicitly told you they have no interest in even considering.
Yeah. I mean, we can speculate at this point about whether he will actually do it. We don't know. I know that he did have to be pushed into it, but that's what's going to happen. And that's why, a lot of people believe that Biden is a far better opponent to have in the White House than Donald Trump, because Donald Trump cannot be pushed by the left into literally doing anything. And I don't want to spend the next 4 years just hoping that, like, John Roberts saves us once again at the last second. That's not the existence I want to have. I want hair in 4 years. Whereas in this case, you had the AOC Kerry task force. You had people like Varshini Prakash of the Sunrise Movement putting as much pressure on Biden's people as they possibly can. And at least in terms of this so far, getting results. And is it just him wanting to get elected? Probably. But I want him to realize that this is a great way to get elected. And then I want him to realize that if he wants to win the midterms, maybe you should deliver on some of it. Is that his actual personal view that he holds? All of this stuff? Probably not. But if we get it done, that's what's important. And by the way, reporting positively on this doesn't mean, oh, we're good, let's never talk about it again. No, we watch him every step of the way. But we should also be willing, every once in a while, as a movement on the left, a movement that has lost so many times and has lost so much, if we win even a little bit, let's acknowledge it for a minute. How about that? Let's not dwell in darkness always.
Yeah. So now we have to look into someone's brain to make sure that they really believe in it. I don't care if he doesn't believe in any of it, if it happens. Changing things in this country have nothing to do with his brain, it has to do with the actions behind it. So if he does it, I don't care if he signs this, or then he presses Congress. Hopefully, by the way, my side note being, let's go ahead and talk about how different laws can be put in place. It's not just the president. So you can be mad about Biden potentially trying to pull your leg just to do this, but you're going to not vote for folks, maybe progressives, to put them in office, because we do need them in the Senate. We do need more in the House. We need that to help have a full, robust approach. Like when Obama came in and he had control of both House and Senate, as well as the presidency, he didn't do enough. Mm-hmm. When you have that, that's when you make your move. But if you just go, oh man, these Democrats, they just keep trying to pull our leg, what do you think the Republicans are going to do? They're going to do something for you? It's just not a logical approach. So anyway, I don't care if he doesn't like it. I don't care if Biden isn't really into it. If he does it, his personal thoughts have nothing to do with that.
Yeah, and I see a couple people in the comments like, this is just a promise, it's not results. He's not president. If he banned fracking today, I would have some follow-up questions. Like, how did you do that exactly? You're not in office. So we do have to wait, and we're not just doing nothing. We're going to continue to put pressure, all of that. I don't have a vested interest in, pumping him up. And I also don't have a financial interest in just responding to every bit of Biden news by saying, he's going to kill your family, don't trust him for a second. I don't do either of those games. I'm going to give you my honest opinion, which is this is moving in the right direction, and we're not done. And don't trust me. Trust people who are actually in the room. Like, for instance, Varshini Prakash, longtime friend of the show, says it's no secret that we've been critical of Vice President Biden's plans and commitments in the past. Today, he's responded to many of those criticisms, dramatically increasing the scale and urgency of investments, filling in details on how he'd achieve environmental justice and create good union jobs, and promising immediate action on day one, in his first 100 days, in his first term, in the next decade, not just some far-off goals. Our movement made this possible, but there's more work to do, and the urgency of the crisis demands that we keep pushing. Now, look, to the extent that I know Varshini, I trust her. And I trust that when the first details came out of the environmental committee that they put together, that Unity one, it wasn't as bold as what we're seeing here. And Varshini's reaction was more negative, which is rational. If it's worse, you respond worse. If it's better, you respond better. She didn't respond to the first plan saying, this is amazing, good, I love Biden 2020
Right.
and always. No, she responded negatively. And now it's moving in the right direction after the pressure that he experienced. And so she's responding more positively. That is a rational response.
It's how things can work, man. And the last thing about this for me is, we talk about how Republicans, particularly Trump Republicans, have this they're attached to him for who he is and not what he does or says. And there's this hero worship and there's this, deification of folks. I hate saying it, but man, it happens across all political lines, man. Democrats and liberal thinkers, progressives, we tend to start deifying people. And if he's not your deity, that means you can't do anything to support him. It's like, suddenly, a Christian can't go into a Muslim church without feeling like, oh my God, I'm getting stricken with evil. It's you can have someone that you don't necessarily agree with everything about them, but then support them enough to get things done. It doesn't have to, just because it's not your God, doesn't mean that you can't use them to get what you need. Mm-hmm. I don't see why that's so hard. But we have this, we're stricken with this, oh my God, I can't say what a good idea from Biden because I don't like Biden. It's okay, don't like Biden, but like this idea.
Yeah. And by the way, it's not just a hypothetical. Like, so we're sort of talking about what our stance is likely to be like under Biden. But the thing is, TYT didn't just spring into existence in 2019. JR, what was the approach of TYT to Obama for 8 years? Just clapping for everything he does? You're the best. You're the best. You can't do any wrong, Obama. No.
Look up Cenk on MSNBC and see what the approach TYT had with Obama.
Exactly. And you know what? It's rough to have to do that again. It's way worse than having Bernie, but it's better. And we can possibly push him in the same way that Obama failed in a lot of ways, but we also got some good things. And I don't stay up late at nights thinking about how much I wish we'd had McCain. Or God, if only we'd had Romney instead. That's not what I do. Feel free to comment if you do. That's not what I do. Anyway, okay, let's read some comments before we jump into the next bit of news that I have a feeling you're going to be into, JR. Rosalind Studio says, I'm just going to say it, Sprocket 2020. I agree.
Is he even around? He's usually here.
Juanita Barnes says, Trump is angel of death. Makes me wonder if Putin has bounty on us all. Well, thank you for the super chat. I'm not too worried about that, but I understand your fear. Okay, let's see. 00111111 says, much clown love to John and JR. Just wanted to say I love True North. I'd love to hear more about that epic dinner you had and that tense night spent watching out for polar bears. Must have been bigly terrifying. Yeah, it was terrifying. I recorded a little vlog on my phone while doing the polar bear watch that night. And I won't go on too long because JR's here and he probably finds this unbearable. But like now that it's been a couple of years, I think, well, come on, you were always going to be fine. Why were you even scared? But I do remember I was terrified. Like, John, I was so scared of polar bears.
Listen, man, there's no way I'm not interested in that because I would probably still be talking about that. People be like, okay, JR, give it a rest with the polar bears, you sorry, weak person. Because I'd be like, you guys know, I was up there waiting for polar bears. Mm-hmm. I have an issue with bears, man. I'm not going to be sitting in the middle the middle of some bears waiting for something to happen. And I understand, yeah, bears want to come for certain things and I'll have to get you. I hear you. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and like polar bears aren't like other bears too. Other bears will defend themselves or whatever. Polar bears hunt things. And they're clever. Watch videos of them sneaking up on seals. So I'm in pitch black in the middle of wilderness. There's almost no people within thousands of miles. There's like a couple thousand people, maybe hundreds of miles away. And I have a flashlight. And I'm trying to spot polar bears. I'm next to the water. They could be creeping up out of the water. They could be hiding behind ice because we're right next to a glacier. There's polar bear tracks right next to our camp. And if I see a polar bear, I'm supposed to go and wake up our guide who has a gun.
I was going to say, what was the plan for if he saw one? I was waiting for that part.
Yeah, he would wake up and hypothetically, if it didn't immediately run in and revenant me, we would, we'd fire off a flare to scare it or something like that. But at the time, it was scary. Now, the meal was delicious because it was many, many courses, all of which were delicious. And we had a glass of wine between literally every course. And so not by the end of it, by halfway through, I was wasted in a way I've rarely been in my life. Like between takes, I would lay on the ground in a fancy restaurant. I was laid out. Just wake me up when it's time to do the next course.
The problem is you hadn't drinking the same amount of rum at the time. If you had, you prepared for that.
That's probably true. I think this is probably Bart, might have been Craig, leaves a comment saying, remember they're harder to see because they're covered in blood. It was Craig. Yes, that's terrifying. Yeah, you can't see their white fur because there's so much gore on them. Anyway, okay, Dutch Morgan, thank you for your super chat. Very nice of you. Jessica Harmon says, love TDR and TYT. You folks are the only news media outlet that I feel gives us the actual truth. Again, thank you. I feel that there are others, but I do appreciate that. Every Monday I have to plug whatever the most recent thing John Oliver did is. And he's not perfect on everything, but I do generally trust him. Rosalind Studio says, oh, Long Island iced teas are my fave breakfast drink. That's healthy. And Frojo Baggins says, long-time listener, second-time super chatter. Take it from us in Wisconsin, your liver can grow back.
Oh.
Nice.
Wow, that's good. Regenerating. One small thing, because it crossed my mind too, but someone in the comment section asked, but multiple course dinner you had, it did sound like you were eating polar bear. And I was thinking, I was like, there's no way. But since they asked, I might as well let you clarify. It was from Eduardo Holanda. Said, you ate a polar bear, bro?
I did not. No, they're very protective of polar bears. You kill a polar bear, that's a massive fine and possibly jail time. No, and look, I ate things that I only ate because, I was visiting this culture and I wanted to be respectful and it was the point of the show and everything. But there was reindeer, there was seal, there was whale. It's a part of the culture. I don't generally support a lot of this, but it's part of the culture. Anyway. Okay, the Uper Gardener says, can we see Sprocket the Ewok dog? Heart this show. So just an idea. Bear it in mind. Matthias says, was that evil Batman voice, John? I guess it kind of was. Anyway, okay, with that, let's jump back into the news. The accomplice to Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, is facing potentially quite a bit of time in jail and will not be given bail. That is one of the newest developments, considered a flight risk. This seems very reasonable considering the secretive manner that she and Epstein operated in, her massive financial resources. But not everyone thought that this was a good development. Here's Geraldo.
Let me just get Geraldo back in here. You said don't confuse lurid press accounts with proof. That comes back to the law, Geraldo.
It's true. And, just on the hiding aspect, Bill, she was hiding from the Daily Mail. She was hiding from the New York Post. She was hiding from the National Enquirer. She was one of the most sought after, with the exception maybe of Meghan Markle, the most sought after tabloid figure in the country. Everybody, every reporter that works for one of these tabloids, whether it's People or the National Enquirer, wanted Ghislaine Maxwell to get an interview to show her in her $1 million hideaway in the woods in New Hampshire and so forth. Now, remember, these charges relate to offenses that happened 25 years ago, in 1994 to 1997. I mean, I think these are charges that are wobbly on their face. And for this judge to chicken out and not give this suspect or this defendant bail, I think is copping out to the mob.
There's so much.
Yeah, you get first crack. What's up, JR?
Okay, so first, these tabloids are coming after you. They want to get a shot of you in your mansion or your hideaway. Of course, you're hiding away. I have a good idea. Don't commit heinous crimes if you don't want people coming to talk to you and find out what you're doing and how you're hiding out and all that stuff. That's what tabloids, that's what newspapers, that's what media does. If there's, when a celebrity shows up to trial, they got cameras everywhere. When someone gets arrested, they got cameras everywhere. They're getting the story. So if you don't want to be part of the story, don't do things that'll get you in that situation. Number one, what happened is personal responsibility. And it happened 24 years ago. Really? So what, is it over? And there's no basis for his statement that, hey, these charges are shaky, whatever he said, are wobbly at best. Based on what? Finish that sentence. They're shaky based on what? What is it you've read? What is it you've seen that tells you they're shaky? What part of that tells you that it's shaky? And 25 years ago, what does that mean? It's over? So if a girl is 14 years old, gets raped and trapped in this guy's villa, whatever he called it, his island, then 25 years later, suddenly they have no recourse. Their life hasn't been changed. Many of them in their lives. Many of them, their lives are destroyed. Many of them can't have a healthy relationship because of what you did to them as a child. So does that change everything? At what point? Is it at the 7-year mark? Is it the statute of limitations that a raped child suddenly has no more problems anymore? Or that their brain hasn't been completely screwed up from what you did systematically and passed them around? That changes after 24 years? What's that point mean? What does that mean with it? If you've talked to anyone who's ever been assaulted like that at that age, ask them, "Oh, you're fine, right?" And see if they honestly tell you that they're fine. If they tell you that everything is fine, none of it ever bothered them, they don't trust you. Trust me.
Well, and regardless of what it means, it's so weird the bubble that media figures get to exist in. So he said that to some other people on Fox. Say it to some of the people who were trafficked. Tell them how wobbly the charges are, how long ago it was. Really, you're still all messed up about this? Which, by the way, should be an indication that maybe it does matter. The fact that so many people are still so bothered by the horrific experience that they had, not just at the hands of Jeffrey Epstein, but her as well. She is primarily talked about as a sort of procurer and groomer, but multiple women say that she took part in these sexual assaults as well. So it would be horrific enough, but she also was doing the things that Jeffrey Epstein was doing. He knows all of this. Absolutely. I know that people are like speculating in the chat about him being on list or something like that. I have absolutely no information to that effect, and I doubt that it's actually true. I have no idea, but I don't know what Geraldo is on about in this. That this is the hill you die on, is that we're being unfair to Maxwell, a multi-millionaire who, best case scenario, is we get her now, and she only got a couple of decades of freedom after committing God knows how many horrific crimes.
Mm-hmm. It's one of two things. It's, we talk about crimes in this country and how people get off. If you've watched any of the details about this case, Epstein got off for many years when he was blatantly and obviously caught. So that normal system is what Geraldo's used to, if nothing else. Like, I agree with you. There's no reason for us to believe that he's part of the list or whatever. So that speculation I don't need. But if nothing else, at minimum, he is thinking, man, people like this don't get caught up. We don't prosecute rich, powerful people. We don't do that in this country. Why would you do that? And we definitely don't keep them in jail until 2021, which is apparently the potential or trial date. But we'll keep people in jail indefinitely that commit crimes like drug possession, nonviolent crimes. We'll keep them in jail indefinitely, and many of them go through things in prison that destroy their lives as well. But we don't care because they're just some regular person who doesn't have any money. What does money have to do with law and order?
Yeah.
That's the first problem. And number two, there's people he knows that are getting caught up potentially in this, and he definitely wants to protect them. So I think it's more he's protecting buddies than he is protecting himself.
Maybe. I don't know. When you go on the news and you say bizarre things like this, people have to wonder. And I don't assume the worst based on it. And especially in this area, anything to do with pedophilia generates more theories that go wild faster than anything else. So I try to avoid that. But it is really weird, especially the particular thing he was defending her on was the idea that she's not a flight risk. He was agreeing with her. What are you talking about? We just found out yesterday she had a secret marriage, which she had been concealing. To who? I don't know, because she's not telling anyone. Which I didn't even know was a thing, that you could just conceal who you're married to. And not to say that that makes her a flight risk. I would say that her countless millions of untraceable dollars makes her a flight risk. The fact that she apparently was like hiding her phone in tinfoil to evade detection, and she attempted to flee when they went to arrest her. The fact that she tried to fly away is a risk in terms of her flying away, I would say.
Well, she probably can't afford a plane ticket, John. She probably doesn't have enough money to get a flight out of the country.
Yeah.
Nothing at all.
He also went on to say, they are punishing her before conviction. She has never been held liable in a civil suit, never been convicted of a crime. She is not Jeffrey Epstein. Like, Geraldo occasionally seems more reasonable. He'll be on the 5 and he'll be the one saying something reasonable or whatever, and he'll get attacked. Right. But you can't listen to all of these women, so many women talking about what Maxwell did to them to say, come on, she's never been held liable. Like, come on, you don't have to listen to any of that. No, this is Cosby territory. Dozens of women. Dozens.
This goes back. Go
on.
This goes to the see, I want to let you finish. Now I'm forgetting.
Sorry.
Don't go, because then I'll remember. Go finish.
Okay, yeah, like, I know that it's totally cool on the news that if just one woman gives incredibly specific details about her rape, no, you should automatically not trust that. But, like, I thought we'd reached the point where when it's a packed courtroom of women, you're supposed to take it seriously, but not even that. Like, again, this isn't cancel culture, but, like, how is Geraldo not, like, in any kind of trouble for this? Sort of, he's directly implying on the most watched show in the news that all of these women are lying fundamentally about what Maxwell did to them. And it's just totally cool. It's just commentary, I guess.
Just say it. Why not? That was the thought. So the justice system. So when Roger Stone went on Hannity's show 2 nights ago or last night, whenever the hell it was, when he goes on his show and then starts questioning the justice system because of what happened to him, because he was caught up in it and caught for the crimes that he did commit. And then Geraldo's upset because someone else get caught up in the crimes they commit. They start questioning the justice system. She's never committed a crime. You got to keep her in jail indefinitely. This is such a violation of her rights. This isn't the first time this has happened to someone. Are you kidding me? That someone's held in jail when they didn't have a previous record, held indefinitely, or a bail is set that they can't post, or a bail is not set at all. That happens all the time. There's groups that fight against having this cash bail system because of how it exploits certain people.
Yeah.
But they've never brought that up because it's never affected them. Now that their money can't get them out of the situation like it always has, now it's, oh my God, can you believe this justice system is not treating rich people better than everyone else? This is a violation of our rights. That's how it works.
Well, JR, you talk about how the justice system obviously has different tiers for different levels of people. AOC was also making that case in response to the news that Maxwell proposed that she should serve the next year, by the way, because her trial's until next July, in a luxury Manhattan hotel. AOC tweeted, "See, the rich make the case for prison abolition for themselves all the time and often get it, including for systemic violence, yet are never deemed radical. It's only radical left when we ask our legal system to treat normal people I think that's 10,000th of the way it treats the wealthy." 100%. And by the way, how perfect that she wants to serve it out in a luxury hotel when Epstein got to be in this like sort of nice place and he could leave sometimes when he wanted to. Like, she wants the same treatment that Jeffrey Epstein got. Presumably not the treatment he got at the very end, I would assume. But the same treatment in terms of, like, prison for me? All I did was, I'm alleged to have raped a bunch of people. Prison for a year? Not those prisons. Well, yeah, maybe think about that. Like, beforehand. Maybe don't treat those people so barbarically, considering the things that you've done for decades to earn your spot there.
It's tiring. And then to have these discussions and disagreements, and you have to continue them as if someone doesn't get what you're talking. It's so weird. Why do we have to say, hey, So an accused child rapist whose partner died in prison after all the things that were obviously proven years before that he did and got away with earlier has to actually stay in prison because we need to find out the extent of which of the things that they did to get this thing called justice that we preach about so much in this country.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
So again, it refers back to things you were talking about earlier. The celebration of the country and this pride in our flag. Don't you ever kneel. Put your flag up. Be proud of our country. Celebrate it. We just crossed 4th of July. But we want our justice system to let an accused rapist, child rapist off?
Yeah.
To flee the country? Is that worth celebrating in this country? Come on, man.
Yeah. We obviously need to reform police, get rid of the private prisons and all that. Treat people humanely. That would be nice. Doesn't mean that you get to leave when you have millions of dollars stashed away in foreign bank accounts. Like, doesn't mean you get to just run and disappear. There are still so many people that, I watched the recent documentary about Jeffrey Epstein, and they interview a number of the women, and they say, like, we thought that we had gotten justice, but then when he died, like, it felt like it had been taken away from us. Well, maybe this is an opportunity for them to get a little bit of that justice. And the idea that she could end up fleeing and just live out the rest of her life, God knows where, no, that's not justice.
Not at all.
Okay, one more story. We're going to read just a couple of super chats for our lunch into it. Obviously, this is an extended show and a late show, but we're doing our best, everybody. Let's see what's going on over on the Twitters. With Jess Ortega saying, rocking my radical woman swag, thanks to Shop TYT for today's episode of TDR Live. The shirt speaks a million words, so I don't have to. Also goes great with mask and public wear. People keep distance. I love it. Thank you, Jess. Let's see. Okay, Gary says, how about the Washington Thin Skins? I don't blame the players necessarily. I blame the team owners, but... S. Cody says on hashtag TDR Live, polar bears are the only known animals that regularly hunt humans. Exactly. It's a rational fear. People have died. On that island Svalbard where I was, people have died. Not a ton, but I didn't want to plump up those numbers myself. Jed Taylor Price says, to be fair, John, I only discovered TYT and TDR report in 2019. Well, thank you for watching since then. We do appreciate it. And Gabby says, Trump's "you'll see" deflection is the 74-year-old man-baby version of "the dog ate my homework." Yeah, pretty much. Okay, let's talk about this last story. JR, remember what we talked about? Okay.
What, earlier or not, or just now?
No, about this last story.
Oh,
so
yes.
Anyway, let's launch into it.
Yes.
Okay. Here's the thing. We're in a pandemic. It literally never went away, and now it's getting worse. And the issue has been that people in positions of authority, primarily in the White House, but distributed throughout the country, have not taken it seriously enough. And we talk about that in a general sense. I want to zoom into a particular case of how this looks and what can happen. So you might remember that just a few weeks ago, less than a month, Trump had his big Tulsa rally. And in anticipation of that, a lot of people said, well, this seems like a terrible idea that you're going to pack, you say, tens of thousands of people in an indoor area, and they're not going to wear masks. That seems like a bad idea. But we were reassured at the time by Oklahoma Governor Stitt that it's going to be safe, that they're ready, that all of these concerns from, like doctors or whatever, isn't going to be a big issue. Now, there were some state officials, including Republicans, that warned against it, especially because at that point, Oklahoma was already starting to go up in terms of coronavirus. It wasn't just fears about the future, it was what they were already seeing. Stitt responded to those fears saying that hospitalizations remain low. And he was enthusiastic about this. He really did want this event happen. In fact, he at one point saw a larger event space so that they could pack as many people as possible into that. To people's concerns that if you were to go to this event, you could be exposing yourself to coronavirus, he did have a response saying, we're a free society, and you're free to stay home. There's a lot of folks that want to be there, that want to support the president, but of course, you want to make the best decision for your family. So that's what he had to say. And in the end, he did actually go to it. In fact, you can see a photo here attached to this article. That is Stitt at the Tulsa rally. You notice not only Stitt, but also that his entire face is visible, as well as the faces of all of the people around him. Because Stitt didn't just go to the rally. He didn't listen to any of the advice. He didn't wear a mask, and it looks like almost no one else did. And so the rally... What's that?
The governor put his money where his mouth is. If he's going to talk all that mess, he's going to back it up by doing it.
Exactly. Rather than putting a mask where his mouth is, he put money there. And so the event happened, and then we moved on. And as June continued, things started to get a little bit scarier. As recently as last June, that's just a couple of weeks ago, with cases on Oklahoma rising, Stitt answered a question about a possible mask mandate by saying, quote, "I'm always reluctant to mandate things." And just less than 2 weeks ago, he told Oklahomians that they would have to just learn to live with the deadly coronavirus. Now, a lot of people would react to that in shock. What do you mean we just have to live with it? How can you say that to us? But to be fair, like Jayar said, he has apparently put his money where his mouth is, because this morning he was pretty shocked to be the first governor to test positive for COVID-19. So after weeks and weeks of saying it's gonna be fine, you just gotta live with it, you know what the risk is, we don't need masks and all of that, he now has coronavirus. Did he get it at the event? I have no idea. It seems like it might have been a little bit too long from then for that, and I can only say that I hope that he does well. I hope that his family doesn't get it. He said, today I feel fine. I felt a little bit achy yesterday. I hope that no one else gets it. But you don't get to be shocked. Yeah. This is what happens when you do what you did.
To say, how does this happen? These type of situations always present us with the question of, so did they always know before, and then they were just buying their BS, or they were trying to push it so hard to society that, you know, they kind of got caught up in their own lie? The same thing happened with the governor in Georgia when he finally admitted. He goes, man, you know what we didn't know was this gets passed from human to human. This is crazy. That was like in April or May. He said that.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, the fact that we've been saying that didn't give you enough of a clue then, as if he had never heard it, because again, that steel trap of allowing knowledge into your head gets locked down, and anything that makes any sense has to go back out. So when you finally hear it, you go, hey, this is crazy. You can catch coronavirus from human to human contact. Isn't that crazy? Did you know that? So this seems like one of those situations where he goes through the whole thing, promotes the stupidity, carries out the stupidity, and then goes, I have no idea how this happened. This is crazy.
Yeah.
Come on.
Again, hope he and his family are great. I hope that the family doesn't get it, and I hope that he recovers quickly. I have a family member in hospital right now for coronavirus, so forgive me if I take it very seriously.
Primarily, I hope he's learned his lesson and will start telling other people, hey, learn from me, don't be like me.
I get that hope. Has he? Well, let's talk about a little bit more from the article, with him being shocked that he was diagnosed. He resisted calls to roll back Oklahoma's current reopening plans, which are being tested by the resurgence that he himself is now a part of, saying, quote, going back and bunkering in place doesn't remove the virus. It's way, way premature to think of slowing down or backing up the reopening. Because after all, he only felt a little bit achy. So how seriously is he going to take it? If he dodges a bullet, he's going to feel invincible. It might actually reinforce to him that this isn't really a serious thing. But a lot of people are dying. A lot of people in Oklahoma are catching it. People are dying. And by the way, can we just mention, he got it potentially from the event or from someone who got it at the event. Herman Cain also tested positive less than 2 weeks after the event. And he got it bad too. His symptoms were apparently so severe that he was hospitalized. As of today, apparently, he is still fighting the disease. And so many of these people just went to the event. Screw your doctor's advice. I'm not just going, which I feel like is my right, but I'm going to go and not socially distance and not wear a mask. I'm not going to heed any of the advice. That is the absolutist stance that they have. That's the Tucker Carlson, we need to open schools and the kids shouldn't wear masks. It's not just we want things to go back. We don't want any reminder whatsoever of the pandemic that we're in. We don't want any acknowledgement. We don't want any safeguards.
Yeah, it's sad that literally the political stance of a major party in our country is basically telling people to play Russian roulette. It's straight up. It's like, hey, you could or you couldn't get it. They haven't straight up said, hey, if you go to these things, you're 100% not going to get it. they've acknowledged that you can get it. You consider, and they start doing the hand sanitizers and then the waivers and the disclaimers and the releases, all those things saying, hey, if you get it and die, it's not our fault. That's acknowledging that it exists and that you can potentially get it. So someone walks up to you and says, hey, so there's one bullet in this gun. Let me slap one in and spin this around and snap it in, and you shoot yourself in the face just for fun or because you're an American, whatever the reasons are that they're given. I'm an American. I have the freedom to shoot myself in the face, and maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't happen. That's the stance of a major party that has influenced enough people to take that approach in this situation. Because if you say, you know what, I have an idea, friend, put that revolver down. Let's go and do something else that's fun.
Yeah.
They go, how dare you? That's really the opposite argument is, how about we don't do that? How about we be safe about this?
Yeah.
Oh, you snowflake.
I just want people to be able to learn from the experience. I don't know. I mentioned this once before. I don't know if you were on the show for it, but so I follow that COVID tracking project, and every day, in the early afternoon, they aggregate all the state data about coronavirus, and they've been putting it out. They've been doing this for literally months, and so there was a period where the cases started to go up again over the past couple of weeks, and I would go on the thread, and they'd be like, "Here's the rise in cases and the rise in hospitalizations and all that." And there was always a reply from this guy that said, we're on day 8 where they say that the deaths should be rising. Well, the cases went up. Where are the deaths? And I would look the next day, day 9, eventually like day 18. And I always thought it was funny because I went on his profile and he had a pinned tweet, and it was from late February, and it was, everyone who's been like hyping up this disease is going to look so stupid when it's a big nothing. And I think, shouldn't you unpin that at this point? Because like 135,000 people died. But anyway, so day by day would go, and he would keep tweeting that. And it bothered me so much. And then the deaths started to rise. And he didn't reply anymore. Did he learn? I don't think so. But he's not replying anymore. We'll see if he actually was able to adapt based on the fact that his like sort of mocking of it didn't end up being remotely accurate.
By the way, you know how much pride I lose by wearing a mask for a few months when I see people dying and catching this virus, and then it not being as bad as we thought.
Yeah.
You know how embarrassed I'd be? I'd go, oh man, I took extra precautions. Let me go ahead and take this mask off now.
Yeah.
That's the extent. So that's the trade-off. It's potentially death versus, oh man, that was a bit overblown. Good thing I took precautions anyway.
Yeah. JR, what if you got a flu shot and then flu season went by and I told you, you know what? I looked into it. You were never actually exposed to the flu. You big idiot. You big stupid idiot. What are you talking about? I
put on my seatbelt and I drove to San Diego to see my parents. And when I got out, I made it. No one hit me. I didn't run into anything. I didn't die. And my parents said, you idiot. You wore your seatbelt all the way down here. You didn't even die.
You big strap wearing wussy. So stupid, the country we live in. Anyway, there are some smart people. Thank you to the thousands of you in the chat that are smart. God, I need it so much. Anyway, JR, today was a different one. Yeah. Thank you for bearing with us. I know that you still got a lot to do. It was such a big one.
It was like an hour and a half. It was such a big one.
That's how big Wednesday news days are. Okay, well, thank you so much. And have a good one.
All right, see you guys. Love you.
Okay, everybody, let's try to catch up just a little bit. People are suggesting in the chat that TYT make Dragon Squad masks. So no one else at TYT would understand what that reference is to. Because it's literally just a few of us and you guys in the chat. Because it doesn't make any sense. That's the whole point. But also, they're probably not going to do it because that would be TDR merch, and we don't do that. It's a little cell phone, and also a little bit of salt. I've been wanting a Johnny Pie shirt for literally years. No Johnny Pie shirt so far. Anyway, let's see what's going on in the chat. Dennis says, on Trump's, this is a super chat, on Trump's press conference yesterday, could he get in trouble for that? In Canada, the chief electoral officer would have a legal recourse because it's illegal to use public funds in an election. Dennis, what you said is entirely reasonable. He should. I don't think he will. The Uper Gardner says, the Dragon Squad wears their masks. Go team. Thank you. I'm sure all of you would. We'll see about the masks. We'll see. Nikki Dearest Gogo just sent in a super chat saying, expecting my layoff letter in the mail today. You guys are the only thing keeping my spirits up. Can Trump really do this with COVID info? Can we stop him? Nikki, very sorry to hear that. That is terrible. Really hope that the, enhanced unemployment benefits come about if you're facing unemployment in the near future. In terms of gathering up the data, I don't know. We talk about some of these stories mostly because we need to know them, but also to hopefully change things. And sometimes it works. Sometimes we push back against things and they do change it. Like the attempts to kick international students out of the country if they're engaged in programs that are going to be just online only. That eventually got changed, thankfully. It does happen. Hopefully with this it will. Anna Jackson's going to make her own Dragon Squad mask. You got to tweet me a photo of that. I definitely want to see it. Okay, let's see. Ed Money had said Governor of Oklahoma just tested positive for COVID-19. Thank you, Ed Money. I didn't want to read it because I didn't want to spoil the surprise, but thank you. Jenna, thank you. Cork Zone says, John, please stop saying Tucker Carlson will be president in 4 years. You're scaring the hell out of me. Please wait to say this till Trump is gone. Look, my hope is that by scaring people about it, they'll take it seriously and start to see Tucker Carlson for what he actually is. Because the power of Tucker Carlson is the media aura that's been created around him. The false aura that he's reasonable or that he's not, a hardcore lockstep part of the Republican establishment. All of that, the hiding of his racism and all of that, we have to acknowledge that. And how core he is to the future of the Republican Party, I think, is a part of that thing. He is not some outsider looking to dramatically change the Republican Party. He's he's Donald Trump in terms of policy. He just has a slightly better script, even though it's written by another racist. Okay, Ernie says, damn it, one of my fave shows on here and time flies. An hour is not long enough for awesomeness. Great job, fellas. Thank you. There was another one with a similar sort of thought. Who was it from? That wanted an hour and a half long show. I can't find it now. I'm trying. Oh, Miranda says, any thoughts on extending the show another hour since it's been running longer and longer? Harder to fit in all the chat stories. Pretty please. Well, we did for today. I don't know that we can because we do interviews at this time normally. But we'll see. Steve says, you didn't read my super chat. I said, here's your reward for being late. Also, does JR think Tucker will be fired? I don't think he does, but thank you. Did I miss one of your super chats? I'm trying to catch up. Steve also says, third attempt at a super chat. See, sometimes it just takes me a little bit to get to it. Does JR think Tucker will get fired? Where did he get the wall hanging? It looks handmade. That's a good question. I wish I'd asked him. I apologize. But no, I don't think anyone at TYT thinks it is likely that he will be fired. I certainly don't. Jenk thinks that there's a chance. I don't really think that there's a chance. Mimakin says, John, I don't envy you the headaches you may get without the caffeine. Be strong. Thank you. I've been gradually tapering off, so I don't think that it'll be that bad. Like cutting down from 2 to 1 a day, I've experienced tiredness, but not like significant headaches or anything like that. The Hart Theorem says, the Brooklyn Nets are the only team that I can think of that reference the sport they play. Also, a first-time caller, long-time listener from Austin. Thank you. I miss Austin. I lived there for a number of years. And you're right. That is a great point. I don't know if there are others, but that's a good one. Mackenzie Carpenter says, fight milk. Now with extra crotein. You need the crotein so that you can fight with all the fury of a crow. Thank you. I love Always Sunny. It would be my dream to get someone... I was going to say someone from Always Sunny. We've had someone from Always Sunny on the show. The lawyer that Charlie's always going tit for tat with, he's been on the show, Brian Unger, multiple times. But I would love to get other people from the show on as well. Tiffany says, how do I stop my sister from watching conspiracy theories? I love you guys. My family is getting torn apart. It's very difficult. I would say that there are a number of great books about deprogramming cultists that I think some of the same lessons could apply, because simply presenting counter arguments and things like that, it doesn't seem to really work psychologically for people who are big into conspiracy theorists. But I would say look into some of the books about cult deprogramming. I Hate Life More says, you're saying Tucker is a false god emperor? Yeah, like Trump is too. Okay, thank you everybody. There are other super chats. I always wish that I could catch up on all of them. Sadie, thank you. I'm glad we went over too. I do appreciate that. It's just, we are so over. And I do have to start to prep for the main show, because I'm going to be leading the main show, the main Young Turks show, a little bit later on. And do you know who's going to be on it with me? Benjamin Dixon. It should be a lot of fun. A lot of people loved I think it was last Thursday when Ben was on this show. People say it's their favorite episode of TDR. You never know. Maybe you like this one too, so consider it. And thank you to everybody who supported us throughout the show and was willing to watch even though we were late. We do appreciate that. So I'll see you later on. Stay safe out there.